and it is going through. And Mr. Stevens, once we go live in the next, I'm gonna give Miss Miller about a minute, and then I'm gonna turn it over to you to go in and just kick us off to get us started. But let me get this live going. Oh, there we go. Okay, I got you, Mr. Stevens. Miss Pryor. Miss Pryor is going to lead us through in a moment. Let me just reach out to Miss Miller real fast. If Miss Miller is not jumping on, we do have our quorum, y'all. I will go on and read the roll. Hey, Miss Miller.
Hello.
Good to see you. Good to see you. We are at our quorum, you all. I think we are just about good to go. Ms. Pryor is going to be joining us in about a second, and she's going to get us started off.
Ready. Good afternoon, everybody.
There we go. Hey, good afternoon. Good afternoon. All right, so look, let me go on and start the recording, and we can kick it right off. There we go. We are. Can't tell if we. Okay, we are recording now. All right, we can kick it off. Let's roll, y'all. We're good to go.
Hey, good evening, and welcome to Jean Childs Young Middle School Go Team Meeting, where we will follow the agenda as it has been emailed to you and publicly noted. I am pleased to call this meeting of Jean Childs Young Middle School Go Team to order. So our first order of business is to call roll and review our norms. The secretary will now take roll.
Okay. Roxanne Marsh, Andrea Roberts.
Here. Present.
Thank you. Donnie Newell, Jeremy Carr,
Present.
Eddie Stevens, Mrs. Stevens, are you here?
I'm here. Here.
Shayla Pryor,
Present.
Jacqueline Hargrove,
Present.
Kelvin Walston,
Present.
and Diana Miller, present. We have met quorum.
Okay, thank you. So our first order of business is to approve the agenda. This was provided to you, and then I think Mr. Garlington has it posted on the screen for us as well.
I do.
So do I have any changes that need to be made to our previous agenda? May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Can I please have a second to approve the agenda?
I second Hargrove.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed, please say nay or raise your hand. Okay. We're going to review and approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting. The minutes have also been provided to you guys. Are there any corrections based on what you've been provided? Okay, so if there are no further, I'm sorry, if there are no corrections, can I please have a motion to approve the agenda? Not the agenda, but the meeting's minutes.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Was that Mr. Walston?
Yes.
Thank you. Can I have a second to approve?
I second Coach Carr.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay or raise your hand. Any abstentions? Please identify yourself or raise your hand. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and move into the discussion items on the agenda. Our first discussion item is going to be the budget recommendation. The final budget recommendation presentation. So Mr. Garlington, he's going to go ahead and share that with us now.
Awesome. And can y'all see my screen? Thumbs up if you can see the FY budget finalization meeting. Is that the slide that you're seeing?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, perfect. So just want to thank everyone. The heavy work was actually done last meeting, because this is kind of a recap as well as just finalizing really what we talked about at the last meeting. So this is our last meeting of the budget discussion. This is our budget finalization meeting for Young Middle School. We've already talked about the agenda, so I will not go over that again. We're going to follow the agenda as follows. I will just remind everyone that this is a meeting of the GO team and only the GO team. So only members of the GO team can participate in any discussion that we have. We invite and welcome the contributions of every member of the GO team, and we will listen to each other. We will also follow the agenda as noticed, and that's exactly what we're doing right now. And then we're going to respect the ideas and assume good intentions from every GO team member as we have the discussion. This visual right here demonstrates that we are at the last step of the budget, the budget section for our GO team. Like, this is the last meeting. So we started at step one. We were doing our strategic plan, worked our way all the way up the ladder. And now we were at the point where we've done all the pre-work, all the discussion, even had a draft budget. And now we are at the finalization point for the budget. So that's where we are now. So this is where we're going to review the components of the budget. And again, we really talked about it at the last meeting, but we're going to do a final review of that. And then just knowing that this meeting is coming after some review from the cluster, from the associate superintendent, as well as from HR, and then various departments within the district. So after I left with y'all last time, other meetings have happened just to kind of review that and to make sure that we were good to go and that it was balanced and that everything was in order, which it was. You see, I'm presenting this final budget to y'all now. So that's what we're doing at this moment as well. And then after this, this is happening after the staffing conferences, but then we're ahead of our deadline of finalizing the budget by the March 13th deadline. So we're well ahead of schedule. We're doing quite well. So here's a couple of quick updates. The first question: are there any updates or any changes made to the draft budget since our last meeting? There was one change that took place since the last budget draft that was presented to you, and just based on the information that was received regarding the security grant, and the information basically that the schools will not have the security grant funds within our budget to manipulate and to use as we need. We no longer going to have that. That's going to be centrally controlled and centrally operated. That means that we don't have that $45,000 of funds to use that we have used this current school year. With that being said, a change of a paraprofessional position to an ISS monitor position for the purpose of being able to have someone that can operate and function and really I guess use that or operate the vestibule as well as other key areas like that. That's what that person is going to do. So we switched a paraprofessional to a ISS monitor, which would be somebody that would be qualified and able to do that particular role, since we will not have the security grant funds to be able to do that. So that's really the only change. Let me see, is this the next slide? Okay, no, I'll show you something else in a second. Here's where we stand right now. 596 is our projected enrollment for next school year. And you see we're at a $9.7 million budget. That's how much money we had to operate with. The vast majority of that is for salaries. I mean, when I say the vast majority, 90+% is like pretty much salaries. You see the breakdown though as well when you see the account description, how much money, and then how much FTE. FTE, just for those that don't know, FTE means how many people, how many bodies, how many individuals, how many staff members actually make up that particular area. So for instruction, you see that we have 50 people, I'm sorry, 50.6 individuals or staff members that make up everything for instruction. And you see the amount right there, $6,639,028. You see it, that's how it goes down for every section. So pupil services, you see the similar type of thing, 5.75 or $793,000, and so on. I won't read everything, but the key thing to note here, which it should be, is that out of the 73.35 total FTE or staffing that we've used, 50 of that is for instruction, and 6.6 million out of the $9.7 million is directly for instruction, and that's how it should be. And you see it for operations, school safety and security, transportation. You see the breakdown as well. But another visual of that's important to see, I think, is the pie chart, which breaks it down in just another visual for you to see like how much is going to each one of these categories in a very visual way. So you see 68%, is going directly to instruction. That's from staffing, materials, supplies, et cetera, et cetera. About 70%, almost 7 out of 10 of our dollars are going for instruction. And you see the breakdown for the other categories as well, from pupil services, improvement of instructional services, so on and so forth. I'm going to scroll down a little bit because in our appendices, we have, while we don't have the presentation from I'm not going to share the same presentation from the last meeting, but I do want to alert you that right here, when you go down as a part of this presentation, in the appendix section is going to be the last budget presentation that we talked about as well, where we actually looked at everything. I'm sorry, let me get to the right slide. We talked about how much we're spending on these different priorities. We looked at the priorities, talked about how much money we're spending as examples for each one of the categories, and then even looked at the example, and then ultimately looked at the different components of our actual school budget, like our budget. This is the example, right? I'm sorry, this is the example right there, but then we broke it down to our specific school budget in these different categories, from the instruction to the administration to the actual, that's an example right there, to the actual stipends and custodian over to things that are required within the school. So I wanted to bring that to your attention because that is also contained within this presentation, which will be sent to you, as well as it's going to be uploaded into our slide deck on the website as well. So let me go back up. So now, sorry, y'all. Sorry, I'm not trying to get. So again, this being the key difference, what you're going to see when you look at the glance that I just showed you, this is the one thing that you're going to see different from that other slide deck that we discussed before. And again, the breakdowns by category and percentages, which really, sorry, y'all, I'm just clicking on the wrong things. The big thing here, we are going to now have a decision whether we're going to approve from the Go Team perspective, our $9.7 million budget with the different categories being funded as such and having a zero balance. One other thing I'm going to say before I pass it back over to Madam Chair to lead us through a discussion and then ultimately a vote. We started this year's budget off with about, I thought it was 900, but it was 800 plus $1,000. We started off 800 plus $1,000 in a deficit. And that's due largely because of lower student enrollment. Remember, we were at 651 for our projection for the current year. For the next school year, our projection is 596. So we were already starting off with a deficit because of that, plus a couple of funding sources that we just honestly did not get this year that we got last year. We got turnaround funds as well as additional IB funds that we just didn't get funded for this year. Again, which started us off in about an 800 plus $1,000 deficit, which was a pretty hefty deficit to try to balance. So I'll pause there and see if there are any questions or discussion about this budget or the slide deck from before that anyone would like to raise or to ask before I'll then turn it over to Madam Chair to take us into a voting of approving the $9.7 million budget. So I'll pause right there.
So team, just to kind of guide the discussion, we've been provided with some questions. So we can discuss these. Does the budget proposal that Principal Garlington proposed support our school's strategic objectives and lead to achieving our goals? And it's kind of where I need you guys to chip in and have a conversation about what he just proposed to us, guys.
Yeah. And the slide that I have on to help guide this, the slide that's on the screen now, these are the things that we said were our goals as well as what our strategic plan was. This is our strategic plan right there. And then our ranking of our priorities. So the key thing is to think about, for example, we can't say that we're focusing on instruction and we spend 30% on instruction. You just heard me say we're spending about close to 70% on instruction, for example. So we can't say that's our goal to enhance instruction. We're spending $1 million out of our $9 million. Those are the kind of things that Ms. Pryor is asking. So we're asking, does the budget match what we're saying our strategic priorities are?
Yeah, so does the budget propose support our school's strategic objectives and lead to achieving our goals? Another question is if new positions, resources, or programs are being added, what data or feedback supports these changes? What trade-offs being made in this budget? And are any current programs or resources being adjusted or reduced? And how will that impact our students? And then if we are sharing staff positions, which I don't think we're not doing that, right? Okay.
No, we're not. I can also tell you we're not
Hello.
adding any programs. It's we had reductions to
No
balance that 800.
instructional programs are being added.
Yeah, the only thing is just a reconfigurate. Like there's no brand new. The only thing there's been some reclassing and removal and downsizing of, but nothing new has been added. Because like even with when you think about some of the positions that we had, it was reclassification or redefining based on the budget source. For example, we had turnaround funds to fund a couple of positions. Though that can no longer fund those positions because we don't have turnaround funds, so it had to be put on general fund, and the position title may not be the same, but the role would be the same in those cases, for example. So that's the kind of thing that we saw with this particular budget. Not a whole lot of addition of staff and staffing. Because we were in a deficit. We started off in a deficit. So I just wanted to put that point in there as well.
I have
So
a question.
yes, ma'am.
So the last time that we started the school year in a deficit was when?
Last year, well, when I say last year for the budget for this particular year. So I can tell you that's a great question. The last three budget years, the last three budget cycles, this one being one of them, we've had a deficit the last three budget cycles because of a decline in enrollment.
Right.
Three things: decline in enrollment, increased salaries is what got us last year. That really impacted our budget last year, and then the loss of certain funding because we had historically received actually between $500,000 and $700,000 in turnaround funds. So that declined as well because we were off the list. So being off the list reduced some of the funding that we got as well. So the last three budget cycles we've had a decline.
And so are we the only school cluster that is being impacted by this downsize? Or
Not at
is
all.
everybody feeling the brunt of deficits?
Everybody with the exception of those clusters that are seeing an increase in enrollment. So, for example, the North Atlanta cluster, they are very likely seeing they are absolutely seeing an increase or a stabilizing of they're seeing an increase of enrollment, as well as the Midtown cluster and the Jackson cluster. Those three clusters in particular have seen an increase in enrollment, which then drives the dollars that come into the school. Just to kind of give you an idea, roughly $6,000 per student is what you get funded. So if you get 50 more students, that's $300,000 more in your budget. 50 less students, $300,000 less in your budget. So those three clusters have seen pretty much either a stabilization or an increase in this, but everybody else is seeing a decline. So it's not just the Mays cluster, and it's definitely not just Young Middle School.
Okay. Thank you. I'm
Yep.
gonna pin that there. Thank you.
Absolutely. You're welcome. Great questions.
Do you guys have anything else to add to the discussion, or do you guys have any other questions before I move on? All right. So thank you, Mr. Garlington, for sharing that presentation with us. I am now going to entertain a motion to approve this budget. I need someone to give me a motion to approve the
Motion
budget.
Motion to approve.
Which one? I'm sorry. Who was that?
Kelvin Walston.
thank you. And can I please have a second to approve?
Second to approve, Hargrove.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. And then
Aye.
all opposed, please say nay or raise your hand. And then are there any abstentions? Please identify yourself or raise your hand. Okay, so it's been approved.
Yeah, the budget is approved. A very difficult budget
Mhm.
and very difficult one, but thank you. We have approved the 9.7 million plus dollars of the budget. Thank you, everybody. Very difficult one for the third year in a row. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, if you're okay, I know the next items on the agenda are the information items and some other stuff. If you're okay, I can just run right through it. Awesome,
Please.
thank you, Ms. Pryor.
Thank you.
So thank you, Go Team. We've approved our 26-27 school budget that's tied directly to our strategic plan, which we've worked so diligently on. So thank you for all the work from October/November, somewhere around there, to all the way up to now, from creating everything to now landing the budget to match that. So now we're going to have our information items to include the principal's report, the cluster advisory team information, and I don't think we have any committee reports, as well as then we'll just go down to any announcements from there as well. So I always share this with everyone because I think it's important to see this. You heard me mention this a minute ago. Our enrollment projection for this current year that we're sitting in was 651. Our enrollment projection for next school year is 596. So you could already see the disparity between those two numbers, which amounts to about $6,000 per student, which then speaks to why we started off in the red, or we started off with somewhat of a, but not somewhat, a pretty large budget deficit. At our last meeting, we were at 617 students, but as of today, we were at 622 students, which is a 5 student increase. So it's an increase, not a huge one, but we kind of fluctuate. We go down a couple, we go up a couple. Every meeting we kind of change a little bit because we do have some active enrollment and withdrawals going on throughout the course of the year. You also see the breakdown by grade level, with 8th grade now being the highest. 7th grade was the highest the last meeting that we had. Our enrollment at the end of the year, just to kind of give you some perspective, was 624 as we ended last school year. So we're right where we ended the school year. And I suspect that as we end the year this year, we'll probably end somewhere between 620 to 625, which is a good place to end. That's important to note because where we end is typically where we start. That was the case for this year. The way we ended is kind of right around where we started. So if that's the case, then if we start off the year at about 615 to 620, giving us more than our 596, that gives us $6,000-ish extra for every student that we have over the 596, which is a very good place to be, which gives us more dollars in our budget to be able to work and to use some flexibility with. So that's important to note. You see that we have right now 90% of our kids coming to school on a daily basis. That's our average on a daily basis. We're right where we were last time, which again is great. That means we're not declining, we're holding it steady. That's exactly what we want to do. That is actually our goal for the year, to be at 90%. So we're holding steady, and where you see that right here, our 6th grade is leading the way, barely above the 8th grade, 0.4 of a percentage point above the 8th grade, 90.4 for 6th grade and 90% of the 8th grade. And then actually right behind them is the 7th grade. So everybody's running pretty much neck and neck. That's a good place to be sitting right now. So that's a great thing. Our suspension rate is increased from 0.45 to 0.56, but still very admirable suspension rate that we have, and we're still amongst the lowest in the entire district of all middle and high schools, and that includes some of the non-traditional schools as well. So that has us sitting in a very good spot, down from 1.69 as we ended the school year. And that 0.56 means that the average student at Young Middle School has 0.56 days. Not every student, but the average student has 0.56 days of suspension. So that's great. We're tracking right now to end the year like this, and there's a lot of great things. Kudos again. I always say this to the teachers, the staff, the support staff, and to the assistant principals for doing things to make sure that we're stopping students from being in positions to be suspended. And then even when they're in a position to do some other types of measures to make sure that there's some sort of thing in place to make sure that they learn from it, that they're not going to repeat it again, and it doesn't happen, so that they can avoid that situation altogether. So that's the principal's report. Also want to share with you on the cluster advisory team, we did have a cluster advisory team meeting yesterday. It was 2 basic points. Started off by just figuring out how the cluster advisory team was asking how they can solicit more feedback from the community. So there was a lot of discussion around there. So which then took us to our breakout rooms where the principals and the other cluster advisory team members discussed what are some other ways in which we could just get more support, more input from the community about the different things that impact SPLOST in this particular case, whether it's around technology or operations or facilities. That's what the conversation started off. And then we went into a conversation about our strategic plans as a cluster and figuring out what it looks like as a cluster for what our priorities are and how we can strengthen as a cluster to make sure that collectively our strategic plans are aligned, which they are, because everybody was saying the 2 things were math and ELA. That was the first one. And then attendance was the other big bucket item. And everybody has the exact same things in their strategic plans. So now the discussion is how we can collaborate, be more effective, and do a lot more vertical teaming so that we're all saying the same thing since we share the same families from K through 12. So and to keep everyone in the cluster. So that's what the discussion was, and that's what the discussion will continue to be. So that's what our cluster advisory team meeting was about. And then finally, from my end anyway, just want to remind everyone that we are actively until March the 8th in the Go Team election nominations, or the where somebody can declare the declaration of candidacy, excuse me, not the elections, but the declaration of candidacy. We currently have 2 staff members and 2 parent guardian seats that have been declared candidacy for, but it is still open. Everyone is open to declare candidacy. The QR code is on the website, the school's website, district website, as well as right here before you as well. So that is open until March 8th, and then the elections will come shortly thereafter, and the Go Team office will be sending a plethora of information regarding the elections, and then that'll then take us to have the elections and then to determine who the guardian seats and as well as the instructional seats will be at the conclusion of the school year. So that is all that I've got. I will turn it back over to Madam Chair.
Righty, so I'm just gonna go ahead and go into the announcements. On March 31st, we are going to have our Title I input meeting, but we are doing it as a cluster this year. So the feeder elementary schools, the middle school and the high school will host it here at Jean Childs Young Middle School on March 31st, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. in JCY Auditorium. The Title I input meeting, this gives our stakeholders an opportunity to let us know areas that we can improve in, or some things or programs or resources that may be needed here at the school that we can use not only to support your child, but to support the household as well. Also, after our Title I input meeting, we are going to have our academic parent teacher teams that night as well. That's going to take place directly after, and we will be providing dinner as well. And I think that's it for me. Are there any other announcements?
Yes, we'll be hosting our Scholastic Book Fair March 13th through 20th. So we appreciate anyone's support. If you want to sponsor a student, please let me know.
Thank you for that. So I'm going to go ahead. We've reached the end of our agenda. Is there any additional business at this time? May I please have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn the meeting, Hargrove.
Can I please have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
And then all
Aye.
opposed, please say nay or raise your hand. Any abstentions? Please identify yourself or raise your hand. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, everybody. Next Go Team meeting, I'll see you there on April the 23rd. Of course, I'll send the announcements and all the reminders and all that stuff. But thank you, everybody. Everyone have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.